Hi everyone, this is a completely different setting. I'm just out on the fields walking the dogs at the moment. And gosh, hasn't the weather changed? It's no longer lovely and sunny and warm. It's sort of wet and rainy and a bit chilly really. Here are the dogs, look, they're having a great sniff in the grass. Anyway, I've been thinking, that passage in Matthew where it talks about Jesus says that where two or more are gathered, then I will be there with them. And I was thinking that's so important that we should still keep meeting together, despite all the warnings that, we've got to isolate and be careful. But, Jesus said we still need to meet. We still need to meet because, when we meet together, that's when Jesus joins us. And so even if you want to meet in your small groups, in your prayer triplets, obviously be mindful of, COVID by wearing your mask maybe. Being outside on maybe covered patios, or some of the home groups actually are meeting in the church in the evening because they've got huge tall ceilings and the doors can be open so you can have a blow through, but it's dry, and if you wear warm clothes it's a good place to meet. But I really think there's quite a key bit about not giving up meeting together, because when we get together it's when we're encouraged so much, aren't we, by each other, and we might say something and then one of our friends would say, have you thought about it this way? And that makes such a difference, doesn't it? I'm thinking it a different way. And after that, just after Jesus says that, Peter then goes on to ask Jesus about forgiveness and how we might forgive our friends or people that we know that aren't perhaps doing things the way we'd like them to do it. And Jesus says, Peter says, how many times must I keep forgiving these people who just keep going out and doing these things and not seeming to be complying with the rules and things? And Jesus says 77 times or more. And actually, you know what? I think that's quite key for us as Christians. We can really show that we're different by not making judgments. And there will be people not wearing masks, and there will be people that want to wear masks all the time because they feel vulnerable, and there'll be people that want to stay in, and there will be people that don't want to get together with other people because they're afraid, and that's perfectly okay, and they're the people that we should be praying for as well, really. But I think we can really make a statement by just being accepting of all. We're so good at being accepting of all when they come into our church and new people, and we want to get alongside them and welcome them. I think also that maybe we need to be doing that also with people who we know already who might not be, complying with the same regulations as we are. And so I feel that's quite key, really. And but alongside that, the importance of actually getting together with people if you can. Even if you're feeling vulnerable, maybe chatting on the phone. And that's a good thing to do. If you know somebody's who's feeling vulnerable, can't face coming out because they're too afraid, that maybe you could actually get in touch with them and just give them a call and say, how's it going? I really understand that you don't want to come out, that's fair enough. But, let's have a chat on the phone. Because I think we underestimate how powerful it is when two or more gather together, because that's when the Holy Spirit comes and that's when Jesus meets with us. And so I think we should really give that a thought. Anyway, I'm not going to be here next week because I'm going to be in lovely Plymouth with my sister. And I think actually it might be more rain than here. And judging by what friends are saying about Cornwall, I think it's very mixed. But anyway, I'm so looking forward to spending some time with her. And so I'll see you in a week's time. Take care. Bye.
You worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. A waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
Good morning, I hope you're all well. I just wanted to add a story and a few thoughts myself around our Sunday theme this week, which is courage in making disciples. And Gladys will share a few more thoughts. If you are able to come to the church, it would be lovely to see you. You're most welcome from 10:30 onwards. Godly courage is the ability to do something out of our comfort zone, which is from the motivation of our hearts. Let me read a few verses from Romans chapter 5. This is verse 3 to 5. But that's not all. Even in times of trouble, we have a joyful confidence, knowing that our pressures will develop in us patient endurance. And then patient endurance will refine our character, and proven character leads us back to hope. And this hope is not a disappointing fantasy, because we can now experience the endless love of God cascading into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who lives within us. You see, our hearts become courageous and are strengthened by God when we step out in faith. We only have to read Psalm 27 or Psalm 31. And of course, we are called to encourage one another, as we read at the end of Acts and Ephesians chapter 4. I love all sorts of music, different genres, and a great Christian female soul singer, a real favourite of mine, is India Ari, who was discovered, I believe, by Stevie Wonder. And she sings a song about strength, courage and wisdom, which came to me this week when I was pondering on something that happened to me some years ago. Now, as I embark upon a mission then to Kenya, I want to perhaps just recall some of those memories I had of that trip. It might seem a bit extreme when we focus on Jesus' commission to reach out both to our people on our doorsteps, but we are told, aren't we, to also make disciples, and that means going to the ends of the earth. Never before had I felt so empowered by the Holy Spirit, who filled me with strength, courage and wisdom on this occasion. I was unable to travel out with the rest of the team, and 2 days before the flight left, there was some uncertainty whether the flight was going to take off or not. It was Air Sudan, and I knew Air Sudan had always been a troubled airline. I think at the time they only had 4 aircraft to themselves anyway. And that was basically, I managed to get on this flight, and it was a pretty horrendous journey. And it was one of those uncertainty. It wasn't a particularly bad, as it were, journey weather-wise, but it seemed that the plane was malfunctioning all the way across. It got to the point where we had to touch down in Sudan, obviously a number of miles from Kenya. And there was some sort of emergency plan put in operation where the plane was definitely malfunctioning. I think I'd never prayed so much in my life, but the plane landed eventually. And then we were all herded into this, I suppose they call it the airport lounge, but it was more like a rather large shed to my recollection. And and I just prayed and prayed. I felt very alone. But I knew as I prayed, God just assured me that he was with me and he was going to get me to the end of my destination safely. Well, I watched along with all the other passengers and a growing number of people that seemed to be gathering there while they seemed to sort of weld a section of the plane together. I guess they were doing something slightly more refined than that, but that's how it seemed to me. And then they eventually, after a number of hours, I think it was about 4 hours, we were able to board the plane. But I noticed as I boarded the plane and tried to find my seat that there was a number of other people I hadn't recognised that had come across from England. And I'd heard that there was another plane that was in trouble, and they tried, and both these planes were heading for Kenya, but obviously there was only one going that way because the other one had also malfunctioned. So eventually I found my seat, which was a window seat, and I firmly looked out of the window as, to my surprise, a number of people jostled for the other seats. And then it seemed like sort of marshals came on the plane. I guess they were police or whatever, and they seemed to manhandle people off the plane when they discovered there was far too many people for one plane journey. Well, eventually we got in the air, and I continued to pray. And the plane, well, somehow it got to Kenya, got to eventually Kenya airport. It was something like 7 or approximately 8 hours late. It was around 3 in the morning, I recall. And the airport lounge by that time was completely and utterly deserted. There was hardly anybody at all. So I just assumed that if I was going to get off this plane and get through customs, I was going to have to embark upon my journey in the morning after spending a night in the airport. But then, from seemingly nowhere at all, this man came out, and in his he could barely speak any English at all, encouraged me that I needed to come with him. So I felt, well, I obviously I had no alternative, but to go with him. And we eventually got outside the airport, and we found this fairly sort of rustic sort of dirt track where this open top truck was parked. Anyway, I boarded this truck, and to cut again a very long story short, I threw my cases in the back, and we set off on our journey to the Maasai Rural Training Centre, which I believe from there was probably about 5 hours journey to go. I was absolutely, utterly exhausted. Anyway, so speaking, obviously the conversation was barest minimum, as the guy could not really speak any English, but we seemed to do what we could with sign language. Anyway, we got out into the bush, away from Nairobi airport, quite quickly it seemed, and it was complete and utter black. It was complete darkness. There was no lighting anywhere. And I don't know how he managed to travel in this truck, because the lighting on the truck you could barely see in front of you. So I just continued to pray and say, God, just get me here safely. I've come this far. I know you've got a plan for me. So I continued on this journey, and then all of a sudden we was set up with a complete jolt. And we had no seat belts. I can remember nearly going through the windscreen as we came to a very abrupt halt. And I was told to get out of the truck, only to find that one of the tyres had completely exploded. And there was literally shrubland and nothing else around us. Then, as I continued to pray, thinking, Lord, I'm going to have to now spend the rest of the night in this truck, which was not going to be a very pleasant experience. It was also bitterly cold because the temperature, I think, was quite high during the day, but it had dropped considerably during the night. So I was just literally in a sleepy state, trying to get some sleep. Then from literally out of the shrubland came a gentleman rolling a tyre. Basically, the truck driver said, "Look, we don't have a spare. There's nothing we can do. We're just going to have to wait." Anyway, to cut a very long story short, the gentleman from I don't know what equipment they used or whether they had any tools or whatever, but they managed to get this new tyre sorted. Anyway, I got out of the truck just to stretch, just to turn round, really just to say thank you to this anonymous person who'd literally come out of the shrubland with his tyre, only to find he completely disappeared. Maybe an angel, I feel. Anyway, I continued on to the camp. And it literally did take the rest of the night and well into the next day. But and I think I was travelling in all when I eventually got my destination about 26 hours. But there was a sense, despite my extreme tiredness and I was almost hallucinating, I think, at one point. But just to know that the reliance I had on God and God's strength and God's power and God's courage gave me the ability to just keep going. And I found I'd had that in abundance when I got there. And I think I couldn't literally stop talking and sharing my experiences with the rest of the team, which I was very glad I was reunited with. You see, the courage we are given is reliance on God's supernatural power. And God is our strength. And that strength, as it were, motivates us as believers to be courageous. God is calling each one of us on a new adventure at St. John's. And I'm really, really excited about just the people and the lives that are going to be touched by us as we go out and share our faith and the love of God with those we meet. This is just, I think, a whole new adventure that we're on, an exciting opportunity as we practice mission-shaped living. Have a great day and God bless you.